Hello, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this research titled Examining the Role of Social Factors in Active and Passive Parent Participation in the IEP Meeting. My name is Zaire Preston. This research was overseen by Dr. Amy Claridge, the Coordinator of Child Development and Family Science, and it was conducted over the summer as part of the Ronald E. McNair Post-Baccalaureate Achievement Program. So what's the idea? The Individuals with Disabilities Education Act is a federal law that supports free, appropriate public education to children and youth with disabilities in school systems nationwide. The Individualized Education Program, or IEP, is the primary vehicle in which educational professionals enact service delivery of an equitable access to education for all students. Additionally, the IEP team typically consists of educational professionals such as administrators, special educators, a general education teacher, students, and their caregivers or parents. According to the U.S. Department of Education, the IEP mandates that school systems provide opportunity and include parents to participate in the development of their child's IEP. Parents provide essential components to the IEP, such as their child's background information, their academic and social emotional developmental history, their strengths and challenges, and any other information that might impact how their child learns. In other words, the information that parents provide about their child is essential to helping the child be successful in the classroom. Although parents may not be experts in special education, they are experts on their children. As such, an active parental input can be a major key to developing realistic goals and educational implementation. However, it was found that despite the parents' attendance, they had little to no contribution or involvement in developing objectives and goals or strategies that might work for their child. Based on existing research, several questions were developed to explore how specific social factors may or may not relate to parental involvement in a child's IEP. These questions included: does socioeconomic status correlate to perceptions of the IEP process and the parent's role within it? Our hypothesis one states parents from lower socioeconomic backgrounds face greater barriers in engaging in the IEP meeting than those from higher socioeconomic background. Our second question was, does the degree of parental IEP knowledge vary based on educational background? Our hypothesis two states parents with less than a bachelor's degree have less knowledge of IEP procedures. A nationwide anonymous survey was created using Qualtrics, which collected participant demographic information and measured perceived barriers, as well as parental involvement. We used non-probability convenience sampling in our methods to recruit participants, which included Facebook advertisements, sharing the survey through social media platforms, and sending physical flyers to various school districts. After collecting the data, we ended up with 64 valid participants, which indicates that our results may not fully represent the population. However, it is proposed that the same conditions that inhibit these populations from contributing to their child's IEP meeting are similar conditions that inhibit them from taking the survey. So, we were looking for parents and caregivers of children with an active IEP in grades kindergarten to 8. Most participants had less than a bachelor's degree, with equal participants reporting a bachelor's degree or higher. And as you can see, about 30% of parents made less than $49K per year, with a slight stagger as the least amount of participants were in the more than $100K per year range. In terms of race, the majority of participants were white, with 9.4% reporting that they were Black or African American, as well as multiracial. Additionally, 70% of participants reported that they were married. 91% spoke English as their primary language, and 18% reported that they were of Hispanic or Latino origin. The majority of participants reported their child's gender as male at 75% compared to their child being a girl or female on an active IEP at just 23.4%. And additionally, most of the participants' children were in late elementary grades, and the average age was 9 years old. So we use a Likert rating scale with 10 items. These included statements such as, I offer information about my child during the IEP meeting. The scores on these items were then added together, with higher scores indicating the parent had more involvement. A similar rating scale was used to measure parent barriers. It also included 10 items with statements such as, my work schedule has conflicted with IEP meeting times, or I need translation services to understand educators. To help with agreement bias and to gain a fuller understanding of perception, items on this scale were reverse coded with higher scores indicating parents perceived fewer barriers. A correlational test found that there was indeed a positive relationship between the level of involvement and the degree of access to participation. So, when parents faced fewer social barriers, they were more involved in the development of the document and procedure of the IEP meeting. As you can see, parents who reported an income of less than 49K per year had significantly less access or more barriers to actively participating in their child's IEP. Additionally, there was a significant difference in barriers that parents faced based on the level of parent education. Parents who reported having less than a bachelor's degree also reported having less access to participating in their child's IEP meeting on average, which also supports our hypothesis. Historically, students from low-income backgrounds are overrepresented in special education. In fact, they are twice as likely to be placed in special education compared to their non-low-income peers. The past research suggests that parental involvement in children's education leads to better student outcomes. But what about parent involvement in special education and the barriers that they may face? This is exactly what this study sought to discover. The findings were somewhat small due to lack in response rates. However, even with a small number of participants, results displayed significant differences in levels of involvement and access to participation during IEP meetings based on income and level of parent education. The findings do support the hypothesis that parents who come from lower SES background and who have less educational backgrounds may tend to have lower levels of participation in relation to greater levels of perceived social barriers. There were several limitations to this study, including the small number of respondents to the survey. As such, results may not be representative of the population. There was also a lack in diversity in terms of race and language, as most participants were white and spoke English. We were unable to collect all the participants' child demographic information, which also disqualified them from results. Because all measures were self-report, this is subject to response bias. However, there are several suggestions for future research in recruitment of a broader range of participants by breaking through social barriers to include cultural and linguistically diverse participants. Future suggestions also suggest using a mixed method approach. Results from this research displayed that when parents perceive less barriers, they are more engaged in their child's IEP meeting. School systems can use this information to adjust or create new parent programs to educate, support, and motivate parent involvement in their child's special education. This could look something like a parent handbook in simple lay terms that parents can understand despite their educational background. This could explain IEP procedures and what the parent role is within it. Additionally, it might be helpful to explore parent-based educational classes through outreach programs. Thank you for listening.